Service. Hey everyone, welcome to Chef Sense. I'm your host, Chef Massey. Okay, so today on the podcast, I'm really excited. We've got Maryann here from Bard College at Simon's Rock. How's it going? How are you?
I'm great. It's very nice to be in summer mode these days. So
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
weather. Yes.
Oh yeah. The gardens are going and
Mm.
the farms are rolling. So yeah.
Yes. We just got started. We had our first event June 1st. We had alumni reunion on the campus. And for the
Oh,
second
okay.
year in a row, we've hosted an event where we harvest salad from the farm garden and we make
Okay.
a salad on the farm and everybody helps. And then we serve it to the people who have come to the reunion. So that was really fun.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah. And
Wow.
it's
How
pretty
many
great.
how many people attend that?
We had about 50 people, so
Oh.
we're a very small school.
Yeah, but
And
still, that's a lot of lettuce, a
yeah,
lot of
it was
that's pretty good
it was
number.
our arugula is going pretty well. We had some microgreens. I got to give credit to my farmer Dan Wood who does all of that. But it was really fun because you get people from some of the alums from all different years and they bring their families and we bring them out into the field. And we're about just over an acre, so it's not a huge place, but and we
Right.
say, here's how you do it, and now you do it. And then they'll harvest the arugula. We were just clipping microgreens with scissors and then we had our
Wow.
yeah, we have a sugar shack on campus too, so we had our own maple syrup that we added to the dressing. So that was very
Oh,
local.
that's so great. Well, and that's, I guess, going into it, you do wear a few hats there. I mean, do you want to go into how that is for you? I mean,
Yes, and it's pretty recent in some ways. So I am a professor of French, so that's my background, French literature, and I
right.
still
So,
teach courses in French language and French literature. And then my research background is in food. So I
yeah.
study and research French food history and some Italian food as well. And so I've started to teach those classes. I have a course on French food, a course on fermented food,
Oh,
which is really fun. I have an intro to food studies course where we talk about food access and justice and heritage. We talk about what local food is here and where local food belongs, what's authentic, which is a really difficult question. And then I have a cheese course that where we learn about cheese, talk about the history of it, and in each of those courses there's a discussion section and then there's a making session. So one
oh,
week we talk and we read and discuss and they write papers, and the other day of the week we make things. So we make cheese in that class. Very simple,
wow.
fresh cheeses. And then the other part of it for a couple of those is visits to all of the beautiful places around here. So we went to Highland Farm to learn about
Okay.
cheese. We had
Yeah.
them come to us and do a cheese tasting because we obviously can't do aged cheeses in the
Sure.
kind of a semester. So we can do halloumi and very basic farmer's cheese. They bring their beautiful aged cheeses to us, and the students get to learn and ask all kinds of questions. And that's one of
Wow.
my philosophies is I'm not an expert on everything, so I bring in the experts, and we have so many in this area, and they're very generous and come talk to the students, and that occasionally leads to internships or even a path to a career sometimes. So
Okay.
exciting to see.
Wow, it's
Yeah.
great. I mean, we really are wrapped with a lot of producers, in many
Yes.
aspects. I think we're what over is it 475 or 450 just in the Berkshire region of like
Oh,
farms
I
and producers of,
I believe it.
it's unbelievable. And it's interesting you say that too, because I know like Topher up at Cricket Creek Farm,
Mm. Hmm.
they back in the day did cheese classes. So
Yes.
making the Maggie's round, I can say from being a chef that, if a cook or even a server and anybody that were to go up and do these classes, and you being,
Mhm.
such a valuable educator and taking someone in, it's like walking the fields or picking,
Yes.
you get such a high level of appreciation
Great.
for the craft, for
Exactly.
foraging. Oh, it's
and
unbelievable.
and what it takes to produce food and what it
Hmm.
should cost, what it does cost. And it does give them exposure, students exposure to what they might like to do. But if nothing else, you go into the dining hall the next day and you think, oh, right, this isn't so easy. This takes a lot of
No,
labor and we're not as appreciative as we should be. And maybe they
sure.
think more about where their food comes from and what they eat and how they eat. Um,
Yeah, well, that's funny. It's funny because you look at like some of the kids, they go to the grocery store and that just stops there.
Right. That's as far as it goes. So the other part of my job is running the Center for Food and Resilience, which
Right.
is includes the farm, includes our sugar, our maple syrup operation. It includes the apiary with our honey production. And I
Amazing.
don't, yeah, so I'm supervising all of those places, but I don't necessarily do the work. We have a great faculty member in environmental studies who runs the apiary. We have somebody else who is managing the sugar shack. And students are involved in all of that work. So
Okay.
we produce Simon's Rock honey. The students have a class where they learn to manage the hives and they learn about the history of it and they have debates about it and then they process the honey. Same for the
Wow.
maple syrup. Yeah, and the maple syrup class, they do a history of maple syrup production in the region,
Okay.
which is really good for them to know. And I'm certain that a lot of them have never thought about where maple syrup comes from.
Yeah, or how long it takes to get that
Right.
1 quart or 1 cup or whatever
Yes.
you're reducing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And some of it
Yeah.
can be, depending on the student, can be chemistry or physics. So we have a reverse osmosis system that we just installed this year.
Oh, very nice.
So that makes it more efficient, but then you can talk
Yeah,
to the students about what that is and how it works. Uh,
sure.
and then the last piece that I manage is our conference, our annual conference called Think Food.
Yep.
That's in November 16th this year. And
Okay.
that's, yeah, so it's a different theme every year. And I invite, again, the experts from all over because we have so many of them. And we do workshops and there are panels. And it's a way for people who want to know more about the food system to learn
Hmm.
more about it. And really what I want to do is share kind of what you do with this podcast, share the exciting work that people are doing around here that may not get enough press, that may not get enough
Sure.
exposure. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it's for students, but it's also we have a really active community of food interested people in the brochures and
Right.
around, and they do come out.
That's great. Okay. And do you find, I mean, you cover so many aspects of it. What do you find that the students take away from the most? I mean, that's kind of a broad question, but
Yeah. I really think the most popular part of the courses I teach is that hands-on part.
yeah.
Um, Part of it is it's fun,
Yeah.
and there really is something, you know this very well. There's something about making food with people. It's a whole different atmosphere. It's a very different way of interacting with somebody else when you've made food and
Hmm.
collaborated together. It's also really good life skills. Some of them have not really held a knife or never thought about how to cook an egg.
Yeah.
Some of that is true. But I think also it's that they sort of have to be brave and
Hmm.
maybe I'm asking them to flip a crepe and they've never done that before and they're standing in front of their friends. So there's a little bit of trying something new. I think that's
Yeah.
valuable. But there's a class that I teach that's called Sustainable Local Food.
Wow.
And it's an international course, which is to say that we have Simon's Rock students here, and then we connect online with students from other places, including Taiwan and Austria, and well, anyway, lots of other places. So we
Wow.
do farm visits here, and the Berkshires is a completely different place in terms of local agriculture from the Midwest, but definitely from those other places I'm mentioning. And so we take them on farm visits, and that
Yeah.
you see the eyes opening and the real understanding taking place
Right.
because they get the sense, as you're saying, of how hard it is to be, what kind of work is involved in being a farmer and what different elements you have to manage. It's
Right.
the economics of it, it's the business part of it, it's thinking about where your workers are going to live because housing is really difficult.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then the food part of it. So what we've even had farmers talk to us about, I like the farmer wants to sell kohlrabi because they just love kohlrabi. Well, is that going to work
Mm.
in a CSA? Or your client then
Yeah.
telling you, I don't know what to do with the kohlrabi. Uh,
Yeah.
and the food access part the same way. Our farm produces food in the summer when our season is the highest, but our
Yep.
students are not. We don't have a summer session. So a lot of our produce we donate to food pantries.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So which is great and wonderful and great for
Wow.
students to do that work. But you also have to think about what do people going to food pantries want to eat and what do they have time to process? So
Right.
we need to, so that all is really valuable experience for the students and to think about. Um,
Right. Do you go into food like preparation and storage, like canning? I mean, off-season storage,
We
where they
would
can
like to
learn?
get there.
Yeah.
In the
Okay.
fermented foods class, we do talk
Right.
about that, but we
Which
haven't
is,
quite done value added yet here, except for
yeah.
the honey and the maple syrup. But we, for example, grow a lot of herbs, and we just made a tea blend that
Oh,
we're
cool.
gonna try. We're gonna give out samples at our farm stand and see how people like it, and then maybe we'll think about that. But
Okay.
not yet. But that's something else that is of interest.
So do you have any animals in the I mean, do you see that working in or?
We did have chickens
Okay.
last year. But because the students, they think they don't understand that it's a 24/7 job. So,
Yeah.
and in the winter, we don't have a
Oh,
frost-free
yeah.
faucet nearby, so it was difficult to get to maintain the chickens. So we ended up making the decision to give them to another farm where they had more room and more care. And the students we had a long discussion about it. They really liked the eggs. The eggs were fantastic,
Yeah.
the freshest, and that was another way we could respond to food access. So some of the students do have needs. They don't,
Hmm.
they're on the dining hall meal plan maybe, but they don't have maybe enough money to buy food. So it was a great source of protein for
Oh, that's
students.
great. Yeah.
I loved it, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of management, and we just couldn't. We're too small to really make that go.
Okay.
So we don't currently have any animals. A few years ago we had hosted some pigs,
Hmm.
sort of a shared agreement. A local farm was offering to have us take the pigs for a season, and then we would share in the bounty when the pigs were slaughtered. But we didn't get that far because the students really liked letting the pigs go, letting the pigs
Hmm.
out of their pens, and then
Yeah.
and then you get a call that somebody had to get the pig out of the pond, and it so
Right.
we ended that experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that probably would have been a lot of fun. At least it wasn't goats, then they'd
No,
really
correct. Yes. I don't think I want to try. We had sheep too, but the sheep
Okay.
farmer was an alum and would come regularly and maintain the sheep. So,
Yeah, those are kind of fun too, though. On our farm, Northern California, my cousins were an FFA,
mm,
and that was, being a part of that and that process, growing up around all that. I think the farm environment, I wish every kid could have that experience
yes,
because it's really rich.
I agree.
I wouldn't have picked the career path that I did today had I not had amazing people
Hmm.
that showed me, you know, because we had our 400-acre farm in Northern California.
Wow.
I shared a little bit about, that and some things that went on that led me into the path of looking at our food system too over the many years. But being able to get on that land with a family member, and just work the land, whether it's lifting mainline or doing anything or going out and picking something, like the
Right.
kids go out and grab something
Mm,
and you're like, now we're going to make, a soup out of this, or the
sure.
kohlrabi, let's make a kohlrabi tart, or,
Right.
let's ferment this. And
Sure.
the lacto fermentation, the lactobacillus that happens, or making that cheese and,
Right.
cutting the curd and separating the
Mhm.
whey. And there's a
And
lot of work involved,
yes.
that's
And
so
thinking
powerful.
about the start, I was thinking about the less fun jobs on the farm, weeding,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
composting, but
Yeah.
then you understand how necessary that is and that food doesn't happen unless we do those jobs too.
Right.
And I think the students really, I'm surprised by some of them in my classes who really take to that, and I wouldn't
Hmm.
necessarily choose them, but there's something really meditative about it, or there can be, and
Sure.
just get outside. And we have a beautiful space here in the Berkshire, so the birds
Yeah.
come along, you see the sky change,
Yeah.
you're outside in the winds blowing, it's just a lovely place. And so I think to
Right.
get them to experience that is really valuable too, along with the hard work that
Sure.
we all need to do sometimes just to
Right.
understand
Yeah.
that is work.
It's so great when you see them light up. It's like, oh, there they go. They see it.
That's
But
right.
I mean, speaking of all the programming that you do, and you mentioned small, I mean, really, what size are we looking at?
So we have about 300 students on campus.
Okay.
And we have two programs. We have a college program that's a 4-year program, and we have an academy, which is a ninth and 10th grade, which is
Mhm.
much smaller. And so all of those students are here. Not all of them live on campus. Some of them are day students. Some of them study abroad. So we were talking
Okay.
about Italy as we came into the conversation. So we have a
Yeah,
study
yeah.
abroad program in Italy for students in food studies, which is one of our majors. We call them concentrations, but it's a major. So there are
Mm.
students abroad at different
Wow.
times of the year. So it's
Yeah.
small and you do get to know everybody. But that
Yeah.
also means that you know them well and they know you
Yeah.
well, and there's lots of hands-on attention. Um, and it's really good to it's a good group. It's about 10 or 15 students in a class, so that's a
Hmm.
nice manageable. You really can if I'm teaching a food class, that's about all I want. I don't
Yeah,
want
I'm
more.
sure.
So, and in the field too, I teach a 10th grade academy class called Organic Farming and Soil Science. And
Okay.
Yeah, and we essentially give them
Oh,
in teams, we give them beds and they grow seeds that we've chosen, and then they do experiments on, it might be companion planting, it might be soil testing. And that's a good age to start
yeah.
because they may not
Oh,
have
big
done much
time.
of it. Yeah. And then we start from an undone bed. So you have to take the weeds out and
Oh, wow.
use the fork to till it and then put some compost on, and then you plant the seeds and then you watch and you compare your bed to others next to you. And yeah, it's really
Yeah.
fascinating. And in the end, we harvest and take it to the dining hall. So we parade across campus and
Oh,
present
that's
it.
so cool.
So we take them into the back door of the dining hall. They may not have known that's how they may not
Hmm.
have went through. And then they really do take some pride in that food that they've grown
Right.
and they're eating in their meals, or I hope they tell their friends about it too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they do, you know. Now, in the sense of acreage, though, I mean, what's the total acreage you're looking at? Because it's so.
The campus is about 300 acres.
Okay, there we go.
So
Yeah,
we
that,
have
yeah,
it's a very
yeah.
big space,
Yeah, that's
but we
great.
don't
Okay,
use all
yeah.
of it. So
Yep.
and then we're kind of stretched. There's an upper campus and a lower campus, and the upper
Okay.
campus is more upper level students because it's a bit of a hike, and then
Okay.
the campus is more of the all the classrooms and the library and the farm, administrative buildings. But the Sugar Shack, for example, is on upper campus, so that's
Okay.
far away. So we do have quite a lot of
Okay.
land, but we don't necessarily use it all directly.
Yeah. Do you do any mushroom foraging at all? I mean, I'm sure, you know.
We, it's funny, it kind of comes in phases. So we had at one of the
Yeah.
Think Food conferences a couple of years ago, we did have a forager come and sort of take you on a walk and show you
Okay.
what's safe. And then every couple of years, I'll have a group of students that's very interested and they'll go into the woods and find, they haven't found morels yet, but we've found some pretty good
Oh, wow.
oysters and some other good
Yeah.
ones. And we have a botanist who will verify your find. So we
Yeah.
tell students, unless you really know what you're doing, don't eat it unless you've asked.
Right. Right.
Um, and so I think they share that knowledge with each other. And so we don't
Okay.
have a course on it necessarily, but we do have students who are interested.
Wow. That's so great. And then looking at, for example, like your maple production, I mean, how many trees do you have? I mean, do you have a,
I think we have something like 80 trees.
okay.
Again on upper campus, so not in the center of campus, but and we just since we've got our reverse osmosis system going, we really want to get to sort of up the production. So we're
Hmm.
talking about really working on that sugar bush and making it neater and taking out some of the dead trees
Yeah.
and increasing our production again with the help of students because we want them to
Okay.
be with us. So
Right. No, that's great. And then is there, for example, I mean, do you have like fruit trees or is there an orchard or
we
a
we
farm?
do have an orchard that was here when the campus was originally a farm, and
Yeah,
the
that's
person who
right.
started the school took her family's farm and turned it into Simon's Rock. And so we do have some older apple trees,
Okay.
and yeah, and we don't take great care of them because they sort of ended up being lesser in imports, but they do produce fruit.
Yeah.
So in October we collect the apples that we have, and we have for family weekend, we have a cider press. So this
Mm.
Food and Resilience does a cider press, and we press fresh. It's not really cider,
Okay.
I guess, if it's fresh apple juice. And we also do an apple tasting.
Oh, cool.
So the fruit trees on campus that we can identify will have tastings. And
Yeah.
there again, that's education. We'll bring in other local apples from other places. Taft Farms is a good one.
Yep.
We have labels and then we let people vote for their favorite and they debate and it's
Yeah. Oh,
but we'll
that's
have
so
people
cool.
we'll have parents come from California and say, I've never
Hmm.
tasted that. I've never even heard of this kind of apple. And
Oh, yeah.
that's fun.
It's unbelievable the varieties. I mean,
Mm.
I worked a lot with like Hilltop Orchard back in the day, but I love using their product all the time.
Yes.
Of course, there's Bartlett too. So
Yes. Yes.
they're both great orchards, but that's so cool. Have you done any apple butter with it or anything like that?
No, we really don't. I mean, it depends on the year. We don't get
Mm.
too many apples, and we do have pear trees as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we need to see if those are producing again. So we don't really have enough to make the product. So we just use it for that one event. And then I do
Yeah.
have students, again, they find out that we have an apple press, a cider press, and they ask to
Okay.
borrow it. So I had a student, and he must have gone somewhere else to get the apples, and then he a couple of times asked to press the. So sure.
Okay.
That's the advantage of
Wow.
having a small place is that they can contact me and say, I'd like to
Hmm.
use this piece of equipment, and usually I can say yes, please
Just
go
kind of
ahead.
check it out. Okay.
Yeah, clean it up when you're done, and then
Wow.
So
So, well, so in regards to, I know you were saying you deal with food pantries, and I talked, I was talking to Berkshire Grown. I've had them on a couple times in a few different ways, but that Berkshire Mobile Farmers Market,
yes.
that's pretty awesome.
It's pretty amazing what they're doing. Yes.
Yeah.
And I happen to know about them because I have worked in different ways of Berkshire Grown, but we have electric charging spots on campus. This is again the
Okay.
way a college can serve a community in a strange way that you may not imagine. And they needed a place to charge that van. And we said, yes, of
Yeah.
course, you should bring it here and charge it. But yes, they have a mobile market that they go up to North County and distribute fresh
Yeah.
produce. And yeah, it's a whole system. And
Yeah.
Berkshire Bounty is another really great organization
Yes.
in the local area.
Outstanding. Yeah. Unbelievable work,
Yeah,
with the food insecurity.
that's right.
So I guess kind of going into that, I know we kind of talked about like with Dr. Maryann
Yes,
Nessel about, food politics and our food system. I think it's really powerful the work, that you're doing there, the center, the programs that are provided there, in kind of combating or forging a new thought process, I think.
Mhm.
In our country, I think that we've come a long way, especially within the last 10 or 15 years, but just seeing this like, oh, wait moment. I don't know if I would say an aha
Yes.
moment, but like, wait moment of
Wait a
like,
second. Yes,
yeah. And, I think it's something to, as being in the Berkshires, all of our producers and people, they're very cognizant and dedicated to understanding what they're putting on their plate and how they can affect their own economy.
right.
And I think it's great the program that you do there. What do you find like, as you work through it, building that and keep adding each year, or how do you work through that process of developing all these programs that you
Yeah.
offer?
Well, it's great because I always say that if you have an idea, come to me and we'll figure out how to do it. So it's really
Yeah,
great to be in a dynamic place like the Berkshires where there are lots of ideas and people
sure.
may just need a little space to meet, or they might need a couple of students to be interns or something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Yeah, so we really provide, I think, a value there. But we partner with a lot of people. That's how we do all the things we do. So extra specialties is another,
Oh, they're great.
aren't they? So we
Yeah.
contacted them early on when the Center for Food and Resilience started,
Hmm.
and Sherry wondered if we could collaborate. And so those folks come to Simon's Rock to the farm, and they are growing some herbs and plants for their tea blends. And it's both that they needed some space to grow because they didn't have land, and we have we have some space and a good interaction. So
Hmm.
might learn a few techniques, might be learning about farming a little bit, just to get outside and but work in a group. And then our students at the same time can learn uh, how to teach maybe a little bit, or just
Okay.
interact with other people. So it's been a really great collaboration.
Hmm.
And then our students have worked at the extra specialties shop once or
Okay.
twice. So that's a very nice collaboration. And again, we
Yeah.
have the space.
Right.
They're very happy to welcome them, and
Okay.
it's really fun for all of us. And there's lots of other collaborations like that happen.
Okay.
So I'm on the board of Berkshire Agricultural Ventures, which is
Oh, yeah.
another
Yep.
nonprofit supporting farmers in the area. And have had intern students who work there as interns.
Hmm.
Are a sponsor of Think Food.
Yeah.
Berkshire
Okay.
is also a sponsor of Think Food. And so when they have a speaker that I might want to know about, they let me know, or if they have an amazing farm that we're supporting. Um,
Sure.
it's a good sort of back and forth that we have in the
Hmm.
community. That's really helpful to me. And we Simon's Rock is not a formal place, so we really do a lot of
Nice.
community work.
Okay.
We can accommodate it. There's not a lot of bureaucracy. There's not
Yeah.
too many impediments to reaching out and making a collaboration. So that's
Wow.
a lot of what I've done.
So you really get an opportunity to have some level of great freedom, really.
Yes. Yes, that is a great advantage of Simon's Rock
E-
is that they want to encourage us. Again, we're small. We want the students to have experiences however we can make them happen. So yes, if we can reach out to somebody in the community, we should do that. And it's a small town. So
Yep.
it's I think not Simon's Rock is not as well known as maybe it should be. So it's good for us to invite people onto campus. But I always think we have space, we have facilities, I'd like to share them, and I've been
Yeah.
really empowered to do that.
Okay. No,
So
that's great. I mean, looking at I guess, moving forward, I mean, you cover so many other programs. You cover a lot. Are there programs that in the future you'd love to see develop into more or
we're
reach?
always thinking about new what we can do next. I think our focus right now is developing Sugar Shack and maybe doing more of that. And so we had an idea of having a maple day. And again, it's all education oriented. So could we invite people to learn how to do it or to maybe update what they have or learn from other people who do it in a bigger way than we do? Um,
Okay.
so that's one. We have an idea with our summer. So I have some summer students working on the farm and we'd like to sort of rotate and share work crews with other farms in the area. So Greenagers is an organization that does really great work like this. They have work crews, and I don't know if they're doing it right now, but they used to offer to rotate around and sort of give shared labor to other farms. You might
Oh,
just need
wow.
a day of picking or a day of weeding. So I'd like to offer that more to our students, but also to the other farms who might need a little support, a little assistance. Um, and I'd like to grow Think Food to a bigger event.
Hmm.
It's a it's a great event, and I just would like more people to know about it and serve more
Okay.
people that way. Yeah. And then I think, the dining hall, we again, our seasons are a little off, so we produce the most food in the summer, but our dining hall is not working at full capacity in the summer because we don't have summer classes. The
Oh, okay.
campus is used quite a bit for other groups, but I'd like to sort of, if we could move toward a greenhouse or a high tunnel, we could do more extended season crops and really serve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
those are some ideas. Uh,
Okay. Nice. Well, so looking at you as such an important educator in these programs that are going on, what what are your drivers? I mean, what propels you into developing all this, and what's at the heart that drives you?
Well, I've been fascinated by food for as long as I can remember. So I call myself an omnivore. I'm sort of an omnivore in the research part too. I'm really interested in all of it. And I did not come from a farming background. It's
Oh,
really
okay.
sort of amusing to some of my colleagues to see what the work that I'm doing now. So I'm just interested in all of it, and I really am empowered. I'm really charged up by seeing what wonderful work farmers do and food people, and they're the most generous people I know. So I think I'm really
Hmm.
encouraged by what the work they do, and I just want to know more. And again, since I have the freedom at Simon's Rock to sort of develop my own programs, that's also a real energy benefit. But in my work with students teaching, they really bring the enthusiasm. That's what makes me want to do it. So I really want to meet the needs of students or the desire of students as much as I can. And we can in a small place like this. I can develop a new course that might feed the need of somebody who just thought of, I'd really like to know more about this topic. Can we do it together? And we can do that.
Oh, wow.
Um, so, I mean, the energy they bring to the courses that I teach, where there's a cooking section or a
Hmm.
hands-on section, is is really enthusiastic and really empowering for me. So
Oh,
that's
that's
what,
awesome.
and then I get to spend my career pursuing something that I'm genuinely interested in. So
Right.
I'm about to head off to a conference in Italy, which is exactly the site of our study abroad food studies program. But I'm going there to present a paper about French food. And I've written a couple of books on French food and published some articles. So I get to go to Italy and eat fantastic food and see and be
Yeah,
immersed in it while I'm doing my work, while I'm actually doing professional work. So that's really amazing to me. I can't believe
I think that's so great.
yeah. And
Well,
it's
if
not what I went
really,
to graduate school for. I went to graduate school for French literature, and I still am passionate about French literature and still teach it somewhat. But this has become my new passion.
right. Well, that's so great. It's funny because I know we were talking. I just got back from Italy myself. And it's such a beautiful country. The culture, the art, it's kind of mind blowing. And again, going into it as a chef,
Oh
uh,
yes.
yeah, looking at what they produce and I had their produce. I mean, I had some. what I would call like it would be like a Saturn peach. It was kind of like a
Mm.
more of a flat peach,
Mm-hmm.
disc shape. And I found a where we were staying was a small village. And I went to the market there, a very small market with one of the ladies who, probably has ran it for many, many years. And I went in there, I was just mind blown at all of the selection she actually had in there. It was like a very small space. It might have been
Oh,
150 square feet or something, but like not.
wow.
And so going through the produce and then even that peach that I got one day that was a little underripe, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm just going to go ahead and eat this, and I
Mm-hmm.
did. And I was still blown away by all of the flavor that was in that
Yes.
peach. And then, I went back a couple of days later and, obviously they were ripe and got some more. But, they're ripening. The blood oranges, I couldn't
Oh, yes.
believe
Mm-hmm.
the, I mean, there's the membrane, it was so thin because those citrus pearls were so full of juice
Oh, wow.
that like it was almost just you cut it open, you're like, wow, or some of the melons, I can't, I think I'm very analytical about it. I'm going, okay, I'm grateful for, my country and our producers from our entire country, but like looking at how we've been so assertive in pushing our ag system
Right.
and, and talking to Dr. Nessel about that we literally produce double the amount of
Mm-hmm.
calories in product that we need for a man or a woman to sustain themselves daily. um it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yes.
So it's like, geez, we're in such a hurry to feed, and yes, we're a massive country and a lot of mouths to feed, but I'm like, wow, if we could just, it's like using our local farms here. They have that presence of being able to, I don't want to say slow farm because that's like slow food, right? Like,
Right.
slow farming is like letting something take that time it needs to develop the flavor, to develop the sugars,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a piece of fruit or an animal,
Right. And
you're
and
respecting
harvesting
that.
at exactly the right time. You're talking about the
Yeah.
ripeness of the peach, right?
Mm,
So maybe it's not the week to pick whatever it is,
right.
but when you get it from the farmer's market, it will be
It's
at the right
excellent,
day.
or you go
Yes.
to Taft and they have the strawberries that they bring in, or Indian Line Farm or some of these
Mm-hmm.
or the Berry Patch. I mean,
Yes.
they're all outstanding,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to be spoiled in the Berkshires as a
Yes.
chef,
Right.
I share with chefs across the country that New England and the Berkshires, it's like a Disneyland for chefs.
Hmm.
It's like Bob Ross,
Yeah.
happy little strawberries, it's
I
like,
like it.
I'm given all of these colors by such gifted people that as a chef, it's like, all right, man, now you've
Yeah.
got to do it. I've got to do
You gotta
right by everybody that,
raise your game. And I think
yeah.
too, there's a public for it too, that you're feeding people who really want
Oh,
that,
there
they
is.
appreciate it and recognize that great quality. And I
Right.
I hope they want to pay what you deserve to be paid for it too, is the other side. But
Yeah, you do. You hope for it. I mean, it's, I'm able to do what I can with it, but, our farms, it's not easy for them. And
hmm,
it's
that's right.
hard for them to, make that money off of that,
Hmm.
that potato.
Right. Right.
And,
Hmm.
coming from our farm, a good size farm in California, that's where, like, I know we talked about it, but seeing the monster, behind the curtain in a
Yes.
sense
Uh-huh.
of the mass production or the push for corn and the push for
Uh-huh.
soybeans and some of these
Yeah.
other things, where you have just fields everywhere, or the way
Right.
the animals are treated,
Right.
from chicken to any of
Exactly.
them, the
And you think
stockyards
of,
and the pens
right,
and
the effect on the soil, and
mm,
that we only have this one earth, so
yes,
we need need to think about where that's going, and that's consumer led too. We have some power as consumers to say that's not the way I want my food to be, if
right.
we have the privilege to make those choices. And I think that's part of what we teach our students, is that you do
Mhm.
have a say, and you can ask the dining hall, for example, to bring in more local food, and they will listen because you're the consumer. and
Yeah.
and you
That's
do have
great.
some. So, and yeah, I do like that big picture lesson that we try to teach. And I think you're right that these local farms, they make amazing, they grow amazing produce, and there's lots of meat farmers around here too that
Mhm.
give us amazing products. And I just want them to keep going. And
Right.
I hope that I think we do. I mean, if you go to the farmer's market, it's lively. There's lots of
Sure.
people there. There's lots of fans, and
Right.
I think it's a vibrant food location. So I'm happy to, yeah, lucky to be here too. That's how I
Oh
feel.
yeah, it's so great, and and there are organizations in our community like BAV, I had Jake Levin
Oh,
and
yes.
Ren on,
Yes.
and how they work together and what they're dealing with, and you're intermixed as well in some of those conversations, and
Hmm.
it's like the more people that I meet and talk about,
And
because
lots of interweaving of different organizations, which is necessary in a small place.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, working through those relationships and even some of the things that like Jake had mentioned, my goal is to for us to develop this thing so that these farmers can be in their fields,
Mhm.
these ranchers, they can be the producer they need to be doing what they love to do,
Right.
and hopefully we can take, some of these other assistance programs or,
Mhm.
logistic support programs so that they can just keep producing.
Right.
And that's
Yes,
pretty
and I think
awesome.
that's a great value of BAV, and that's why I'm happy to be on their board, is that they can
Yeah.
keep the farmers farming and bring them this information or these trainings or whatever it is they might need, and then we can keep having a healthy farm system here. And it goes beyond the Berkshires too, Taconics and Hudson Valley
Mhm.
and Litchfield County. So
Oh,
yeah, it's an
yeah.
amazing organization. There's just some really top-notch staff at BAV.
Yeah. I mean, and I think what's really powerful is that it is a nucleus of very talented people, but I think the most important is that they're passionate, they're committed, they're
Mm,
driven.
absolutely.
Everything else will come out
Yes.
of that because it's going
Yeah.
to happen,
Yes, that's right.
Uh, it's,
And
how many,
insightful too. I mean, to recognize what farmers might need, or listen when farmers say, "Here, this isn't working so well. What are the solutions?"
right. Well, and
Yeah.
that's the other thing, like programs and technology and some of these other things
Mhm.
that they may not have been aware that, hey, if you go on the website, you can look this up and get,
Right.
further information on it. And
Yeah.
it's just so amazing to know that that's being put in place because that's not it may be a concern that's in front of you, but finding the resources is not
Yes.
always the easiest. So,
Right.
you know,
Especially when you're very busy doing all the other things that
yeah,
are required of you. Yes.
right. Well, before, I always said it was, you're going before the sun comes up and you're still going after the sun sets, especially
Definitely.
harvest time too. So,
Definitely.
or if you're adding animal,
Oh,
care,
yes. Yeah, yeah.
that extends those hours even more. So,
Right.
but
Yes. I took my students to visit Freund Farm in
oh yeah,
and that's a dairy farm,
they're
and
great.
thinking about, they are great, and they have these amazing robotic milkers
Oh, okay.
that I had never seen before. My students found
Oh,
them
okay.
fascinating. But yeah, to talk about what the day is like,
Yeah.
and it cows do not know that it's Sunday or that it's Christmas.
No, no, they
So
just move,
yeah, they
you
just eat,
know.
and they need, so yeah, it's
Well, and
pretty.
they appreciate the pressure release, so they
Yes,
can be
right.
more
Oh yeah,
comfortable. So
it was fascinating to watch,
yeah,
that organism, I guess is what you'd call it, but and the thought that goes into how you keep going. And then
right.
the cow pots. Do you know about the cow pots?
Well, it's funny. I actually went down to Foreign's because I get stuff for our yard down there.
Ah, great.
And those, yeah, I've got the moo poo and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yes.
I'm I'm stocked.
So
Those are
yeah,
great
also,
though.
yeah, it was fascinating for the students to see, okay, here's something else that's environmental, but also serves a need, because people want these pots to plant in, and then they don't have to think about tossing them aside, and
Right.
it goes right in the earth, and it's better for your plants.
And it breaks right down.
Yeah. So the thing,
Yeah,
the innovation and the entrepreneurship there, that's right here in our area. And I love to see the students kind of click onto that and think,
right.
well, there is a place for creativity, and you know there the jobs that you might have someday are not the ones necessarily that you have in your head.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's so, and I think too, also, especially where farming in our country, especially in the Berkshires too, is yeah, we've discussed and been focused on regenerative farming for a long time, but then you're getting into the no-till.
Yes.
And that's, again, it's the more conventional way, and you have the machinery and it's cutting down your time and this and that and the labor and whatever, but then
Mhm.
you're ripping it, everything apart that's been built, or
Right.
that's sustaining itself there in the soil. But
Yeah.
then, when you look at the no-till, you're like, that's a whole nother piece of
Yes.
appreciation. You're like,
Yes.
get on that fork and start dancing,
Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's one thing to watch it, it's another thing to do it yourself. And
Oh
so
yeah.
when we go on these farm visits, sometimes this when Woven Roots is a good one. So
Yeah.
she'll
Jen and Peter are amazing.
yeah. Well, she'll
Yeah,
say,
they're
here's the
great.
fork, here you can try it. And
Yeah.
that makes an impression on students when they go. And such a beautiful place. I mean,
Yeah.
neat as a pin, so gorgeous that place that they have. It's amazing. So there's a lot of people to
Well, it's funny. That reminds me, my great grandmother, she was born in 1901. And I remember in our one farmhouse, I was a kid and I went in there and she was in my grandfather's recliner and she was nodding off. And I said, Grandmother, are you tired? You seem tired. And she leaned forward and she laughed and she said, I'm not tired. I'm just sleepy. I haven't worked to be tired.
wow.
But that generation,
Mhm.
spending time with them side by side, and then that history, it's like, or being out there with them like the students are with you guys. It's I think it's one thing to say that there's such a value to it, but I think the extended value, it's not just in that moment, but it's what that individual carries with them the
Mhm.
rest of their lives. And
Right.
especially when they may not have or as much, or even if they do, it just opens their eyes to, man, I got to work for this,
Right. Yes.
and it feels good to do that. It's okay to be exhausted.
Yes. Right.
It's okay.
It's true.
It's
There is,
okay to get slowly up out of a chair.
that's right. When you've worked all day. Yeah,
Or
there's a value to it.
yeah. So there's a lot of power in that. But I think, if you can grow something your own, and
Hmm.
especially nowadays, COVID hit and
Yeah.
people were getting into sourdough and then,
Yes.
bread making, and
Hmm.
even that's even better for you. And then going into growing your own product at
Yes.
home because they have
Right.
the time to do it.
Exactly. And
Um,
thinking about what you might want
yeah.
and what you will use. I think one of the elements of Simon's Rock that I sort of forget about, because this is what we do naturally, is we don't really dictate what the lesson is. We take the students with us and then let them explore and
Wow, that's very
questions.
organic.
Yes, and that's exactly what we do. And I watched our farmer do it on the farm, so the students really have a say. So this is
Right.
what we need to do. How should we do it? Or what would you how would you approach this? And so there's a
Right.
lot of thought to that, and there's a lot of valuable it's a valuable way of learning that I think sticks with them. Is what
Well, I
you
would say so. I mean, because if you're giving an individual, especially a young person, the opportunity to have a voice and be a part of the
Mhm.
conversation instead of kind of being led, or I don't want to say dictated, but like led
Yeah,
to that conclusion, and they're able to see an idea and put it
hmm,
forward without,
right,
restriction or judgment.
right,
I
right.
think
That
they
may
just
not
pick that
work, and
up.
then there's value in that too. That's the
Sure.
resilient part. It didn't work. That's okay.
Yeah.
The world didn't end. We'll try it another way.
Well,
But
because then you learn that not everything needs to be perfect.
hmm,
And that's like I was talking to people, or some of our farmers or chefs, it's like our food system is so set up, it's like that
yeah,
apple, that potato is not a 90 count, get it out of here.
right.
Or these blemishes or these things that, they won't make it to the market.
Hmm.
They won't make it to the big grocery store chains because it's not absolutely perfect.
Right.
But yet, why can't a family, go in and get that at a discount, or
Hmm.
whatever it is at the farm store? It's just these big farms just kind of
Yeah.
have standardized perfection
Right.
to the point where,
Yeah, and that's the market that's dictating, they haven't chosen to do it. They're in the system.
right.
Yeah, so that's the other value of small is that you can sort of understand somebody can teach you that this
Yeah,
blemish is not poisonous. It's perfectly
right,
fine. The
right.
the greens are a little are a little holy. That's okay. They're still
Yeah.
edible. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's, whether it's being a young person or even, thinking about that when you said that as a chef, again, I keep saying it's storyteller or advocate
Mhm.
for my producers of this community, but like, I let people know it's great to have that 5 ounce chicken breast, but it's not always going to be perfect.
Right.
And
Right.
so you find different ways to be creative to develop plates and whatever. And I think
Mhm.
people appreciate that clarity, that honesty of like it's
Yes,
real.
honesty is a great word. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, genuine, all of those I think are really valuable. And I think it lets people take ownership of what they're doing because they're not so afraid of criticism. If
Right.
we're all in it together and we're trying to make
Right.
something beautiful and it may not be perfect, but
Yeah.
uh, you invite people in. I think that's the value.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for sure. Yeah. Keeps the communication going.
Yes, right.
So
We can all learn something from each other.
yeah, I think that's a key to life, to be honest.
I agree.
So when you're looking at Think Food Conference,
Yes.
do you want to talk a little bit about those classes and the structure of that, what that
Yes.
may look
So
like if people
it's a
go?
day-long conference in November, November 16th this year. And this year's theme is food and health. So we're thinking about where food overlaps with health. It could be directly, it could be that the food you eat. We can talk about local food being part of that. I want to talk about the health of communities. So it could be that the local community is served by our agricultural bounty, but it's also creating community. So LGBTQ spaces for food,
Okay.
which we do have in the Berkshires and
Hmm.
beyond, um, and healthy bodies, healthy production, and healthy planet. So those
Mm.
are all themes that we'll explore, and it depends on what our slate will be eventually. But we'll have workshops or panels or discussions, and it's meant to be sort of open-ended too, where you can ask questions and learn from experts. So it's all about bringing in the experts to talk about what
Okay.
they do and what other really great innovations in food that we should know about in the Berkshires and beyond.
Pretty
And
cool.
yeah, so it's a day-long Saturday conference, and it's on campus, so people can explore the campus too.
Oh, that's great.
We do try to have a hands-on or a demonstration of some kind too. So I'm not sure what that will be yet, but we'll think of one.
Oh, that's okay. That sounds exciting.
Yeah. So
Well,
last
maybe I
year
need to.
we had a tree pruning, orchard pruning, some sort of
Oh,
demonstration. And that was interesting. And so one year we had jam making. So I had somebody come in and make, I think it was strawberry jam, and you could learn how to do it. We do try to combine the hands-on with the intellectual or the discussion part of it.
oh, that's great. Well, I think too, you get people really drawn in.
Hmm.
It pulls them, and it locks into their mind even more.
Right. You take a Saturday and you sort of think big picture or just learn something new about the area you live in and you didn't quite know about. And then we always have a great brunch at the dining hall with lots of local foods. And that's another way for people to say, oh, I've heard of this farm. I didn't know. So it's more exposure for our friends in the
Wow.
community.
How many
Uh,
people usually attend that?
Around 60 to 80,
68. Wow,
depending
that's a
on
good
the
turnout.
food.
That's
So
great.
yeah, it's a good day and it's great to see people. Again, it's all about
Yeah.
exposure. I want people to know about these great people in the community, just like you.
Yeah. Oh, nice. That's awesome. So, in the sense of support, is there anything that you all need there that the community, you'd like to put forward?
Oh, well, we'd love to have more community partners. So if
Okay.
there are people out there who have an idea that we could help work on at the Center for Food and Resilience, we do hope to produce to create some workshops at the center.
Okay.
Um, and that could be lots of things. So we're willing to talk to people. We do want to reach out to community partners and have more collaborations. And then as
Okay.
far as Think Food goes, sign up, come on over, sign up for the conference and come attend. We'd love to have you.
Okay. I'd
And
love to go. And it sounds like, well, you have my number. So now,
I will. I'll make
I
sure you
think
have the
that,
invitation.
yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great. And I think it's important too, if there's anything that comes up, I'd be happy to be a part of.
Great. Excellent.
Um, Oh, absolutely. So yeah, no, that's wonderful.
Good.
Website, is there any specific
Uh,
websites they can go to?
yes. So simons-rock.edu is our school website, and you can find the Center for Food and Resilience page on there and the Think Food page on that.
Okay,
simons-rock.edu.
very cool. All right.
Yes.
Well, Maryann, thank you so much for your time and all the work that you do, that everyone does there. It's really inspiring to hear more about the programming, and really, you've got a lot going on. It's pretty amazing work. So thank you for doing that. And
Thanks for the chance to talk about it. It was really great to
yeah,
explore it with you. It's really wonderful that you're doing this work too.
well,
Everyone knows.
and maybe we can, do another podcast. I can get over there, or what have you. But
Fantastic.
yeah, all right.
We'll host you.
Okay. Wow. There we go. Well, thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, all right, everyone. That is a wrap. You can check us out if you like that. Subscribe. Also, the Instagram, Chef Massey. Let's keep it simple. chefmassey.com. Have a good one. Bye for now.